Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Introduction. Imagine this for a moment. A woman is falling. She is tumbling through an endless, dark space, clutching a bundle of life in her hand. Far above her, a hole of brilliant light shrinks to a pinprick, the only home she has ever known, now gone forever. Below, there is nothing but a vast, dark expanse of water. She falls for what seems like an eternity. But in that emptiness, eyes are gazing up. Geese, floating on the water, see the column of light and the tiny speck spiraling down. They see a woman, her long black hair billowing behind her. Without a word, they rise from the water in a great, honking wave, a living net of wings and feathers. They fly beneath her, breaking her fall, catching her in a warm, soft embrace. The geese can't hold her forever, so they call a council. All the animals gather: loons, otters, beavers, fish. A great turtle offers his back for her to rest upon. She steps gratefully onto the dome of his shell. But she needs land. The animals understand. One by one, the strongest divers, the loon, the otter, the sturgeon, plunge into the deep, dark water, searching for mud. One by one, they return defeated, or they don't return at all. Finally, only the little muskrat is left, the weakest of them all. He takes a deep breath and disappears into the depths. A long time passes. The others fear the worst. Then, a stream of bubbles rises, and with it, the small, limp body of the muskrat. He has given his life. But as the animals grieve, they notice his tiny paw is clenched tight. When they open it, they find a small handful of mud. The woman takes this precious gift. She spreads it, carefully, across the back of the great turtle. Moved by the sacrifice and the generosity of the animals, she begins to sing a song of thanks. And then she dances. As her feet caress the earth, the small patch of mud begins to grow. It grows and grows, expanding with every step of her gratitude, until it becomes the entire continent, an island resting on the turtle's back. This is the story of Sky Woman falling. It's a creation story. But it's more than that. It's a roadmap. Today, we're going to explore a book that has quietly become a phenomenon. A book that feels less like something you read and more like something you remember. It's called Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants, by the brilliant Robin Wall Kimmerer. This isn't just a book about nature. It's a book that offers a different way of seeing the entire world. It has sold millions of copies, not through a massive marketing campaign, but through a quiet, powerful word-of-mouth revolution, as readers discover its profound and healing message. The author, Kimmerer, stands in a unique position. She is a botanist, a distinguished professor of environmental science, trained in the rigorous, objective world of Western science. But she is also an enrolled member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, a carrier of the stories and the wisdom of her people. For much of her life, she felt she had to choose between these two worlds, the scientific and the indigenous. One foot in the world of data, the other in the world of spirit. This book is her answer. It's her act of weaving those two worlds together. What if I told you that by the end of our time together today, you will hold the key to a secret worldview? A worldview where the world is not a collection of objects for us to use, but a community of beings for us to relate to. A world where gratitude is not just a polite sentiment, but a powerful, world-shaping force. This book offers a lens to see the abundance that surrounds us, and it teaches us how we can heal our broken relationship with our planet. It starts by asking a very simple question: what if the earth loved you back? Let's begin that journey and learn to hear the stories the plants are telling us. Book summary. Most of us grow up with a creation story that begins with a garden, a tree, and a terrible mistake. A woman tastes a forbidden fruit, and for this act of curiosity, she and all of humanity are banished. The gates of the garden clang shut behind her, and she is cast out into a wilderness that she is told she must subdue. Her relationship with the earth becomes one of exile and punishment. But the story of Sky Woman offers a different beginning. She doesn't fall because of a transgression, she falls toward a new beginning. She isn't banished from a garden, she brings the garden with her, clutched in her hand as seeds from the tree of life. And when she arrives, she isn't met with a wilderness to be conquered, but with a community of beings who save her, who welcome her, and who collaborate with her to create a world for all. These two stories, Kimmerer tells us, are not just ancient myths. They are the invisible software running in the background of our modern world. One story tells us we are exiles, passing through a world of resources that are here for our taking. The other tells us we are welcome guests, members of a larger family, with responsibilities to the home that sustains us. The land all around us, she says, bears the scars of which story we've chosen to live by. Kimmerer saw this disconnect firsthand in her own classroom. As a professor of ecology, she once gave a survey to her students, bright, environmentally minded young people who wanted to dedicate their careers to protecting the planet. She asked them to list the negative interactions between humans and the environment. Their answers filled pages: pollution, deforestation, climate change, extinction. They knew the story of destruction inside and out. Then, she asked them to list the positive interactions between people and the land. The answer was, for the most part, none. She was stunned. How could it be that after years of education, these students couldn't imagine a single beneficial relationship between our species and the earth? They could not even imagine it. They had never been told the story of Sky Woman. They had never been taught that humans could be a force for good, for healing, for reciprocity. How can we ever build a sustainable world if we can't even imagine what it looks like? This is the central question of Braiding Sweetgrass. Kimmerer proposes that the path forward lies in weaving together three strands: the analytical and objective lens of scientific knowledge, the ancient, holistic wisdom of indigenous teachings, and the personal, lived stories of plants and people. Let's start with one of the most powerful ideas in the book: the gift economy. Imagine walking through a field on a warm June morning. The sun is on your back, and you smell a fragrance that is pure summer. You kneel down, and under the leaves, you find a patch of wild strawberries. They are tiny, scarcely bigger than a raindrop, but they are intensely red and sweet. They are a gift. You didn't earn them. You didn't pay for them. They were simply there, waiting to be found. A gift from the earth. Kimmerer says that this experience, repeated throughout her childhood, shaped her entire view of the world. She saw the world not as a marketplace, but as a place of gifts. A gift, she explains, is different from a commodity. When you buy something at a store, let's say, a carton of strawberries, a transaction occurs. You pay the money, the clerk says thank you, and the relationship ends. The strawberries are now your property. You have no further obligation. But a gift operates differently. If a friend gives you a basket of strawberries they pick themselves, a relationship is created. You feel gratitude. You feel an obligation, not of debt, but of connection. You might share them with others, or you might be inspired to give a gift in return. The gift creates a bond, and its value increases as it is shared. It keeps moving, weaving a web of relationships. In a gift economy, wealth isn't about what you keep, it's about what you give away. In the Western world, we are steeped in the story of the commodity. We are told that everything has a price, that land, water, and even life itself can be owned and sold. This worldview turns the living earth into a collection of natural resources, dead objects to be exploited. But in many indigenous cultures, the earth is seen as a gift. The Potawatomi word for land, Kimmerer tells us, is imingoyak, that which has been given to us. This isn't just a poetic idea, it has profound, practical consequences. When you see the world as a gift, you don't just take. You receive, and you feel the responsibility to give back. This is the essence of reciprocity. Kimmerer shares the story of her family making strawberry shortcake for her father. The kids were sent out to the fields to pick the wild berries. It was their gift to him. But they knew, deep down, that the berries weren't their gift to give. The berries belonged to themselves. The real gift was from the fields, and the children's role was to be the vessel, to pass that gift along with their time, their care, and their red-stained fingers. Later, as a child, Kimmerer would tend to the strawberry patches, weeding around the new runners the plant sent out, helping them find good soil to root in. No one taught her to do this. The strawberries themselves taught her. Because they had given her a gift, a relationship opened between them, a cycle of giving and receiving. This is the heart of reciprocity, a mutually beneficial relationship that sustains both the giver and the receiver. It's not a transaction. It's a partnership. The idea that taking from the earth could actually be good for it sounds completely counterintuitive to our modern, conservationist mindset. We're taught that the best way to protect nature is to leave it alone, to put a fence around it and keep people out. But Kimmerer reveals, through both science and story, that this is a profound misunderstanding. She tells us about sweetgrass itself, or wingoshk in her language. It's a sacred plant, considered the first to grow on earth, its fragrance a reminder of Sky Woman's loving hands. To her people, it is the hair of Mother Earth, and they braid it to show their care for her. But sweetgrass also has a secret. For years, sweetgrass populations were declining in many areas. Some blamed overharvesting by basket makers. Kimmerer, as a scientist, decided to test this. She and her graduate students set up experimental plots. In some, they harvested the sweetgrass using traditional methods, taking only half, leaving a gift of tobacco, and being respectful. In others, they did what modern conservation would recommend. They left the plots completely untouched. The results were astonishing. The plots that were left alone withered. They became choked with their own dead leaves and their numbers declined. But the harvested plots, they flourished. Picking the sweetgrass, it turned out, stimulated it to grow back stronger and thicker. The grass was healthier when it was in a reciprocal relationship with people. The science confirmed what the elders had said all along: if we use a plant respectfully, it will stay with us and flourish. If we ignore it, it will go away. The plants themselves have shown us this. This isn't a magical phenomenon. It's a biological one. Grasses evolved alongside grazing animals. They are adapted to being disturbed. When they are clipped or picked, it signals them to put their energy into new growth. The harvest, done with care, is a form of tending. It's a partnership. The people receive the gift of the grass, and in the very act of receiving, they give back the gift of its continued flourishing. This principle of reciprocity is written all over the natural world, if we only know how to look. Take the story of the three sisters: corn, beans, and squash. For millennia, indigenous farmers have planted these three seeds together in the same mound of earth. To the colonists, these gardens looked messy and chaotic, not like the neat, straight rows they were used to. But the sisters were engaged in a sophisticated dance of mutual support. The corn grows tall and straight, providing a strong stalk for the bean to climb. The corn is the elder sister, the support. The bean, a middle child, is flexible. It wins its way up the cornstalk, reaching for the light. But its gift is hidden underground. Beans have a special relationship with bacteria that live in their roots. These bacteria can take nitrogen, an essential nutrient, from the air and turn it into fertilizer in the soil. The bean feeds her sisters. And the squash, the little sister, spreads her broad, prickly leaves across the ground. She acts as a living mulch, shading the soil to keep it moist, and her prickly leaves discourage pests. Together, these three sisters create a system that is far more productive and resilient than if any of them were grown alone. They support each other, they feed each other, and they protect each other. Each one expresses its own unique gift, but those gifts are magnified in relationship. They teach us a powerful lesson: all flourishing is mutual. This is a stark contrast to the monoculture fields that dominate our modern landscape, endless rows of a single species, propped up by chemical fertilizers instead of the gift of beans, and protected by pesticides instead of the shade of squash. We have replaced a system of reciprocity with a system of extraction. Kimmerer asks us to consider that these plants are our teachers. What if we saw their relationships as a blueprint for our own communities? A world where individuality is cherished, because for the whole to flourish, each of us has to be strong in who we are and share our unique gifts. This way of seeing requires a fundamental shift in our perception, and one of the most powerful tools for that shift is language. In English, we have a very clear line between who and what. A person is a who. A rock, a tree, a lake, these are its. We refer to a member of our family with pronouns of personhood, like he or she. To call your grandmother an it would be a profound act of disrespect. It would reduce her from a living, feeling being to a mere object. Yet, this is exactly what our language does to the rest of the living world. The grammar of English, Kimmerer argues, boxes us in. It gives us permission to treat the earth as a collection of objects. If a maple tree is an it, we can take up a chainsaw without a second thought. But if a maple is a her, we might think twice. In Potawatomi, and many other indigenous languages, this is not the case. The world is not divided into he, she, and it. It is divided into animate and inanimate. But the definition of animate is far broader than what we learn in biology class. Of course, humans, animals, and plants are animate. But so are rocks. So are mountains, fire, and water. So are songs and stories. The language itself is a mirror for seeing the animacy of the world, the life that pulses through all things. Kimmerer tells a story of trying to learn her ancestral language. She was struggling with the grammar, which seemed impossibly complex. She came across a word in a dictionary: to be a bay. She was frustrated. A bay is a noun, she thought. A person, place, or thing. Why make it a verb? And then, she had an epiphany. A bay is a noun only if you think of water as a dead thing, trapped between its shores. But the verb wekwegama, to be a bay, releases the water from bondage. It acknowledges that the living water has, for this moment, chosen to shelter itself between these shores. It could do otherwise. It could become a stream, or an ocean, or a waterfall. This is the grammar of animacy. It is a language that reminds us, in every sentence, of our kinship with all of life. It makes the world a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. When we speak this way, our relationship with the world changes. We are no longer the lone subjects in a world of objects. We are one person among many, surrounded by family. Think about it. What would change if we referred to a passing moose not as it, but as someone? Someone is in my hat, says a biologist friend of Kimmerer's, shaking out a deer fly. Not something, someone. It's a small change in a word, but a revolutionary change in worldview. It's a recognition of personhood, of kinship. This understanding of the world as a family of beings leads to a powerful ethical framework for how to interact with it. Kimmerer calls this the honorable harvest. The honorable harvest is a set of principles, a code of conduct that governs the act of taking. It's not a written list of laws, but a living tradition passed down through stories and daily practice. It's a way to resolve the tension between honoring the lives around us and taking them in order to live. The principles are simple, yet profound. First, you never take the first one you find. It might be the last, and you want that one to speak well of you to the others. It's an act of restraint, of recognizing that your needs are not the only ones that matter. You ask permission. You introduce yourself to the beings you wish to harvest. This isn't just a formality. It's a way to assess the health of the population, to listen with both your analytical mind and your intuitive heart. Does this patch of leeks have enough to share? Is there a sense of generosity, or a feeling of scarcity? You must abide by the answer. You take only what you need, and never more than half. Leave some for others. Leave some for the plants to seed themselves for next year. Leave some for the birds and the bears. Kimmerer tells of early settlers who were baffled that indigenous people would stop harvesting wild rice long before the beds were empty. They say it is for the thunders, one wrote, not understanding that what was left behind was also for the ducks, and for the rice itself, ensuring future abundance. You harvest in a way that minimizes harm. If you are digging roots, you do it carefully, replanting the soil when you are done. You use everything that you take. Waste is a sign of disrespect. It dishonors the life that was given. And finally, you give a gift in return. You give thanks. You reciprocate. This could be a gift of tobacco, a song, or the act of tending, like weeding the strawberries or scattering seeds. It is this act of giving back that completes the circle. The honorable harvest provides a stark contrast to our modern, consumer culture, which feels like a dishonorable harvest. We take what isn't given. We take more than we need. We waste. And we rarely give thanks, let alone a gift in return. We have become what the Anishinaabe people call a Wendigo. The Wendigo is a legendary monster from the North Woods, a human who has become a cannibal. Its essence is a hunger that can never be satisfied. The more it eats, the more ravenous it becomes. It is consumed by consumption. It is the embodiment of selfishness, of taking for oneself without any thought for the well-being of the whole. Kimmerer suggests that the Wendigo is more than just a myth. It is a diagnosis of the sickness of our time. A society based on endless growth, on fabricated demand and compulsive overconsumption, this is a Wendigo economy. It is an economy that grants personhood to corporations but denies it to the living beings of the earth. The footprints of the Wendigo are everywhere, in the mountaintop removal of coal mining, in the oil slicks on the ocean, in the clear-cut forests, in a closet stuffed with clothes we don't need. The Wendigo tricks us into believing that belongings will fill our hunger, when it is belonging that we truly crave. So how do we defeat this monster? The old stories tell of heroes who tried to fight the Wendigo with weapons, but it always came back. The Wendigo is most powerful in winter, in the time of scarcity. Its heart is made of ice. But there is one story where the hero, Nanabasho, chooses to hunt the Wendigo not in winter, but in summer, the time of plenty. And this, Kimmerer says, is the medicine. The antidote to the Wendigo is not scarcity, but abundance. Not an abundance of material possessions, but an abundance of gratitude, of relationships, of gifts. The Wendigo psychosis is fed by the illusion of scarcity. A market economy thrives by creating unmet desires, by telling us we are not enough, that we don't have enough. But a culture of gratitude, a gift economy, cultivates an ethic of fullness. It reminds us that we already have everything we need. This brings us to the final, essential question. In a world of immigrants, of people displaced from their ancestral lands, how do we find our way back to this sense of belonging? How do we become indigenous to place? Kimmerer reminds us that Sky Woman herself was an immigrant. she fell to a new world, leaving everything she knew behind. But through her actions of reciprocity, through the give and take with the land and its beings, she became indigenous. She made a home. To become indigenous to a place, Kimmerer suggests, means to live as if your children's future mattered. It means to take care of the land as if our lives, both material and spiritual, depended on it. Because they do. She points to a humble teacher for this lesson, the common plantain, a plant that came to this continent with the first European settlers. Native people called it white man's footstep because it followed them everywhere they went. It's a foreigner, an immigrant. But it didn't behave like an invader. It didn't poison the soil or crowd out the natives. Its strategy was to be useful. It settled in disturbed places, around dooryards and along paths. It offered its leaves as a powerful medicine for cuts, burns, and insect bites. It made itself a good neighbor. After 500 years, we no longer think of plantain as a foreigner. It has become naturalized. It has put down roots. It has made a home. This, Kimmerer proposes, is the path for the descendants of the settlers. Not to appropriate indigenous identity, but to follow the teachings of plants like the plantain. To unlearn the mindset of the colonist and learn the mindset of a good neighbor. To see the land not as a commodity to be exploited, but as a home to be cared for. To enter into a covenant of reciprocity, to give our own gifts back to the earth, which has given us so much. This is the braiding that Kimmerer calls for, to weave together our scientific knowledge with a worldview of gratitude and relationship, to create new stories, new ceremonies, and new ways of living that honor the gift of the earth. We are all called to this work. We are all called to be the people of corn, people transformed by our relationship with the living world, people who understand that all flourishing is mutual. Commentary. As we come to the end of our journey through Braiding Sweetgrass, it's easy to feel a sense of awe, and maybe a little bit of sadness. The wisdom in this book is so profound, so simple, and yet so far from the world most of us live in. It feels like we've been given a glimpse of a more beautiful, more meaningful way to live, but the path back to it seems long and overgrown. What strikes me most about Robin Wall Kimmerer's work is its deep and gentle optimism. This is not a book that scolds or shames. It doesn't dwell in despair over what has been lost. Instead, it is a powerful and loving invitation. It invites us to remember something that, deep down, we already know, that we are part of a living world, a world that is a gift, not a resource. The most powerful lesson for me is the idea of reciprocity. In our modern society, we often think of our relationship with nature in two ways. Either we are takers, consuming resources, or we are protectors, setting nature aside to be untouched. What Kimmerer offers is a third way, the role of the partner. The idea that we can be a beneficial presence on the earth, that our attention and our care can actually help the world to flourish, is a truly revolutionary concept. It moves us from a place of guilt and helplessness to a place of agency and responsibility. She shows us that science and spirit are not enemies. They are two different languages telling the same story about the beauty and complexity of the world. Science can tell us how sweetgrass grows stronger when it's harvested. Indigenous wisdom can tell us why. We need both. We need the head and the heart. So, how do we begin to live this? How do we apply these teachings in a world of supermarkets, smartphones, and concrete? It can feel overwhelming. But Kimmerer reminds us that the journey begins with small acts of attention and gratitude. Here are a few simple ways to start putting down your own roots. First, practice the art of paying attention. The next time you step outside, try to notice one thing you've never noticed before. The way the light hits a particular leaf, the sound of a bird you don't recognize, the texture of a piece of bark. Attention, Kimmerer says, is the beginning of reciprocity. It's how we start to see the world not as a backdrop, but as a community of living beings. Second, learn a name. Just one. Learn the name of the tree outside your window, or the bird that sings in the morning. Naming is a way of building relationship. It's hard to love what you do not know. When you can call a being by its name, it ceases to be an it and starts to become a who. And third, give something back. This doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be as simple as planting a pot of herbs on your windowsill and caring for it. It can be putting out a dish of water for the birds on a hot day. It can be picking up a piece of trash on your walk. These small acts of care are the currency of reciprocity. They are how we begin to mend the broken circle. Braiding Sweetgrass is more than a book. It's a ceremony. It's a prayer. It's a call to remember our place in the family of life. It teaches us that the world doesn't have to be a lonely place. We are surrounded by teachers, by relatives, by beings who are constantly offering us their gifts. Our work, and our joy, is to learn how to receive those gifts with gratitude, and to offer our own in return. We've explored the core of Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer today. We've journeyed through its biggest ideas, but I want to be clear with you. A summary is just a map, not the territory itself. The true power of this book is in the way Kimmerer's voice guides you through these stories, the way a specific sentence can land in your heart and change the way you see a simple patch of grass. This summary is a doorway. If you felt a pull toward the ideas we've discussed, the gift economy, the grammar of animacy, the honorable harvest, I wholeheartedly encourage you to step through it. Reading this book isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a profound experience, one that has the power to reawaken a sense of wonder and belonging that you may have forgotten you even had. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if this journey has brought you some value today, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right path, and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another world-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's continue to learn and grow together.